Well, hello and welcome to the first day of h1-2006, HackerOne's virtual life hacking event. Today I have with me Adam, who is the mastermind behind the evil CTF for h1-2006. We're going to chat about how we came up with the concept, why do we make it so evil, why were some things more evil than others. But we also have two of our winners, Robert and Jacob. I believe, Robert, you also did h1-415 CTF. And
Yeah,
Jacob, this is your first time participating and winning one of the HackerOne CTF, is that correct?
Yep, that was my first.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to talk about what you guys thought about the CTF and kind of compare. Did it match up with what Adam had in mind when we got started? But before we get jump into that, can you do me a favor and introduce yourselves? Let's start off with you, Adam, and then we'll go to Jacob and Robert.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Adam Langley, Adam T. Langley on Twitter, you can find me. And I built what Ben just described as the evil CTF challenge.
Go ahead, Robert. Let's start with you. Give us a background, who
Uh,
you are, and what's your username on HackerOne as well.
yeah. So I'm Robert. I'm from Romania. I'm doing a lot of CTF challenges, but also I'm very active on HackerOne. So my username on HackerOne is Nitrogen. Yeah.
Very cool. Jacob, how about you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob. I'm from Poland. For my regular job, I'm working with a Polish company called Securitum. And yeah, I'm into bug bounty and CTF for years in more or less regular way.
Well, since you do play some CTFs regularly, what did you think of the HackerOne CTF for the h1-2006? This one.
To be fair, it was amazing. I did it in parts, so it was like I saw on Twitter that someone announced the fact the CTF is happening like right now. Said to myself, okay, I have a minute to check it, and yeah, and I was doing it in like few days on parts. When after solving, I did the report for like 8 hours.
Oh wow!
So I think that was the most difficult part of the CTF. Yeah, like the writing the report, not the CTF itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the report is a big part of it, right? Especially when you're doing it for a competition that relies on the report itself. Let's talk to you, Robert. What did you think about the CTF?
Well, I think it was really cool because it was realistic. I mean, every challenge, every little challenge was very realistic. And I talked with Adam. I asked him how he came up with everything, and he said, "Well, everything is from his experience, what he saw in bug bounty, and that was his plan to make it very real life." And well, he did that, and I enjoyed it very much. But it took a while to solve everything, and especially the report. The report took a few days.
Yeah, Jacob. Sorry, Robert. You said it was realistic. I want to hear from Jacob. Did you think it was realistic at all? Was it?
I think it was like more realistic than more of challenges I saw before. Yeah. But probably it could be even more. Yeah, there could be like some parts that could be like more realistic and closer to the real targets. But it was quite good, like about the fact that it's like the real application from real life. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean. In CTS or challenges, there's for me, like it should have more elements of another human being behind the system of the application. So more like Google headless stuff inside and more client side bugs to exploit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Adam speak about this as well. When we design the CTFs, the biggest requirement is we don't want this to be unrealistic that you only see it in CTFs, right? It's not what
Uh-huh,
we
uh-huh.
want to make sure the stuff that you do at the CTF could be transferred over to the company you're hacking on, right? So if you
All
think
right.
about it, the theme was the same as the company you're hacking on at the live hacking event. The target
Mm-hmm.
is a financial website. Our CTF was a financial website. There's some of the skill set that you required going through it. Doing some little bit of recon, looking through the JavaScript files and that sort of stuff. Adam, I want to also hear your thoughts. Why is it so important that we create these CTFs that are, super realistic, but at the same time challenging and proves that hackers have the skill sets required?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I mean, one line that I always joke about is you come across CTF challenges, and basically the answer was like an encrypted password and a picture of a cat or something. And it's like that just doesn't help anyone. Nobody would naturally look there. And my first thoughts with HackerOne was keep it as realistic as possible. Make sure it's got all the WASP style bugs in there, plus all the extras that HackerOne are reporting on, and all the disclosures that come out as well. Making sure that you include things from there. I think it's just really, really important you improving those real world skills with that.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what was you guys' favorite part. Let's start with you, Robert. What was your favorite part of the CTF?
Well, just the favorite part because I have the worst part that I can talk
We'll get
about.
to that. Don't worry. We'll get to that. That's
Okay.
coming up.
Okay, so my favorite part, I think, well, there was the part with the front end issue, the client side, the CSRF, and that was really interesting to find a way to exploit that. I think that was like a very real challenge because, well, I guess you can find that. I saw that on Facebook, for example, you have a lot of bugs like that. It's a main issue for them. So learning that and having a chance to exploit it was really fun.
What about you, Jacob? What was your favorite part of the CTF?
About the favorite part, I think, yeah, the client side on the Sandra account. Yeah, so you need to like chain all this stuff together to escalate your privileges to admin. Yeah, so that was like the one of last parts, I think. Yeah, on the
And
staff
chat, if you're
application.
watching this, if you're watching this and you participated in the CTF, drop us a comment in the chat. Let us know what was your favorite part. I'm curious to hear if people have the similar interactions. And Adam, you being the design, the behind the developer and behind the CTF, what was your favorite part?
I did really enjoy that part with the Sandra account getting it up to admin. There was a lot of moving parts involved in that. I was worried that it wouldn't quite work or people would know to do to put all those things together. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I try and take things from real disclosures. So that wouldn't have been kind of one disclosure, but it would have been taken from many different disclosures or things I've come across myself in the web development world. I did enjoy that, and to be honest, only a couple of days before it was due to go live, because it was put back a couple of days, I added the second level two-factor authentication with the CSS style sheet, because I thought, oh, it can't end like that. I've got to be a little bit more evil just when they thought that they've got to the end.
So let's talk about you guys' least favorite part of the CTF. Jacob, did you have any parts of
Android.
this?
Android. Like for real. Besides of the all the obfuscation, there was a moment when, like, after SSRF happened, and I had already the link to the APK. It wasn't working correctly. Like, it was downloading like 90 kilobytes of the file, and I thought for all the time that I need to, unzip the broken file and somehow read the bytecode and then find something else. But after all, yeah, it downloaded the whole file after it started working again, yeah. And then, yeah, the Android part was pretty hard for me.
Yeah, big shout out to Kyle.
To solve.
So yeah, Benak, B3NAC, if anyone wants to follow him on Twitter, his name's Kyle. He actually designed a mobile portion of this. And again, when we were talking about this with Adam, it's when we go after a client that has mobile and has a web presence and a mobile application, how do we know people could do it? But I'm curious, what part of was it only the downloading issue that made you not like the Android portion, or was it just the entire Android reversing?
Of course not. As I said, the reading obfuscated code is kind of hard for everyone, I think. Yeah, so as I said, that took me like a few hours to properly go through there, yeah, and take another steps, yeah. So yeah, the obfuscation was the worst in my opinion to solve.
All right, Robert. I know
Sorry
you.
for Arado, yeah.
Robert, you were you wanted to start off with your least favorite portion of the CTF. I'm curious to know, what was it?
Well, it's not his least favorite for me just because I wasn't paying attention, but the least favorite part for me was the fact that Sandra leaked her credentials on Twitter. But actually, I wasn't paying attention because there was a hint for that on the first page, but I didn't saw it.
Yeah, so I think,
I think
Adam,
nobody saw it.
that's the hint that we added on 2 days into the CTF, right?
yeah. We kept on looking at it because we could have a visual of where everyone is up to, and I'd certainly sent a message through to you as like, nobody's seeing this Twitter account. We really need to point people in the direction, and I think it was a good move to link that, and then suddenly we had a flood of people getting through to the next stage.
Yeah, I think it was like over the weekend we didn't really pay it any mind, and the next morning on Monday I messaged and I was like, hey, so I see all these IP addresses there, like everybody has made it through this portion of the CTF right before they're supposed to go on Twitter, and nobody has solved the Twitter part. Can we give it a hint? And I think I don't know if you guys saw, but also HackerOne retweeted the fake bounty CTF page that also followed Sandra, who happened to have leaked credentials on Twitter.
That's why I saw it, to be fair, from the retweet from HackerOne.
Yeah, when we did the retweet, the numbers of people solving that part just went through the roof. Like, people just started going through it really quickly. But curious to hear from you, Adam. Why was it important to bring some sort of a OSINT element to the CTF? And why is it important to the Twitter part? It's it's one off, and it might not always be Twitter, right? It could be you had something on GitHub as well, right? Why are those small portions of the CTF so important when it comes down to building these challenges?
I think it's massively important. It's good for people to kind of think out of the box, stop staring at that one application, and think a little bit further out than that. And again, kind of real world examples as well, like websites don't just appear on one host. There's a lot of moving parts to it. There's continuous integration, there's GitHub repositories. And then, it was fairly kind of the simple, the OSINT on this side, and it was just to get that pass. But, you could be looking people up who work for a company, you've got first names, you've got last names, and from that you can start generating like login credentials, email credentials, things like that. So I think it's like an absolutely massive part of bug bounty, looking at that side of it.
I think it comes down to how do you approach an organization. Right? Like you do your recon and you identify people that are key players in the company, or you go on GitHub and find all the developers' accounts and go through it, right? It's a big part of doing recon when you're approaching a live target. Have you guys done anything similar to this when it comes down to pen testing or bug bounties? Let's start with you, Jacob. Have you had similar, vulnerabilities when you rely on GitHub or on OSINT, for example, to solve a challenge?
Like in bounties, I'm not sure right now if there was any. Probably yes, but can't recall right now. Like in pen tests, there was a bit of vulnerabilities based on OSINT, and it's like always the part of even if bounty is it bounty or pen test, it's always like, as Adam said, that's a really important part to make some success, as much as possible.
What about you, Robert?
I'm always trying to go on GitHub and search for stuff, but I only had was lucky with just once when I found the credentials for the Gmail account of someone. Then they were like 5 years old and they were still in the repo. So the thing is, every time I'm still trying to find, because you don't find anything for a while, but after a while it's worth it, and you have find a high or a critical, because they leak really important stuff sometimes.
Yeah, and then just talking about the CTF, I'm curious to know: is there any like technologies or any vulnerability types that you wish you could see more of in CTFs? Do you want to see some cloud stuff, for example, or would you rather see some more CSS injections, or do you want to see some like blind RCs? Anything that you would love to see in a CTF that haven't seen it yet? Let's start off with you, Jacob.
Code execution, like that was one I were missing in the CTF. There was no like the classic code execution like in the end, because it's like always cool to pop a shell for yourself. It's satisfying, yeah. And also, as I said before, maybe not about the technologies, but more about vulnerabilities types, yeah. So more cross-site scripting stuff and client stuff, because I like it. It's like that's just me, yeah. But yeah, that was two things I were missing: more client-side stuff and maybe cloud stuff too, yeah, because it's always good to learn more about the cloud, yeah, and yeah, got some stuff there.
What about you, Robert? Anything that in particularly you would wish more of in CTFs, or any vuln types that you would eventually want to play around with when it comes down to a CTF?
Well, I'm still looking to find more high and critical bugs, and I'm still looking to learn that part, but I don't know yet how to approach that. So I don't know. The thing is that I really like the last two CTF challenges, and I really like the one that from 1 year ago from Cody. That was really great too. So I learned a lot. If you keep doing what you're doing, it's really great.
And Adam, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on: is there any like different stacks or technology that you've always wanted to like? Speaking of Cody always had this dream of sending a satellite into space and having people hack a satellite. It's like the hack a sat thing that DEF CON was doing. Do you have any wish list items that you wish, like, oh man, it would be so cool to like have this thing that the hackers could hack into at one point as a part of a CTF?
I really like building stories into things. So, like, you'll notice from like my CTFs, and if you come across any of my other work, that everything has a certain flow to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose I'd like to mix it up a little bit and have some way of like not just one way of solving a CTF challenge, possibly like multiple different routes to get there, all the same kind of difficulty, and then seeing how people manage to do those. Kind of what I like in CTFs changes all the time. As soon as I've mentioned this a few times, but as soon as I see like write-ups for things, I see them and think that looks absolutely awesome. I'm going to be including that in the CTF soon. There's some really good work coming out from people, and I like to those come out, and then I like to give people the experience of exploiting it themselves, so they get to learn how to do that properly.
Is it safe to say you're actively looking at other bug bounty hunters' research when you create your CTFs?
100%, yeah.
Can I ask why? Like, I want to kind of drill down on that a little bit. Why are you? I mean, I think it's a great thing. I'm not questioning it, but I want the audience that's watching this to understand this better. Why is it so important that you're doing up-to-date research versus what traditional CTFs are doing? It's the same vulnerabilities, but more complex. Or, when you know what I mean? Like when you go play a CTF, usually that's a competitive CTF. It's more on the things that people are used to, but just has a huge twist to it, right?
Yeah, it's mostly about like just relevance. Like, can this thing be used in the real world? I really don't like unrealistic CTFs. I like people to learn things. That's the biggest buzz I get is when somebody finishes a CTF and they send me a message and they said, "Oh, I've learned so much from this," and then they'll go off and use that in the real world. I think that's like massively important going forward to keep those real world examples in there.
Yeah, let's move on from the CTF. I'm going to come back to you, Adam, and I want to specifically ask you a few questions about the CTF itself. But while we have Robert and Jacob, I want to ask you guys about the life hacking event. Is this your first time ever participating in a life hacking event with HackerOne?
Yep, that was first for myself.
So how does it feel, seeing, first of all, like, PayPal, it's a big company. You did the CTF, you were selected, you won, you were the top 3 winners. How does that feel?
It feels amazing, but I feel like ashamed for myself that I still don't have any critical vulnerability finding yet. There are still a few days. But about the event itself, like, everyone are super friendly, like both from hackers, from PayPal team, from HackerOne team. So I believe that's the you try to get as close as possible to the real event. Because too bad it couldn't be like the real life experience, just the virtual. But still, I think you're doing great with the atmosphere around. So yeah, it's really cool, and I would love to try another one in the future. Yeah.
Well, thank you, man. We appreciate it. What about you, Robert? Given that you have done the last CTF and you've done this one, how does it feel to be a part of the event? What is your thoughts so far?
Well, it's a really nice opportunity. I mean, I'm really glad I'm here, and I really love that. Well, everyone is super nice on the event, and I'm learning so much. I mean, just the fact that I'm with everyone on the channel and sometimes speaking with them, and I've spoken to some hackers, and well, I started to know new people on here. Just a second. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's because my screen froze, but it's okay. I can still speak. It's a really great opportunity because I see other hackers do their thing, and I'm learning so much just by seeing them, how they approach the target, just by seeing their Slack messages and what they're doing. It's really, really cool.
How does it feel to be hacking on PayPal, though? PayPal being one of the giant financial institutions. How does it feel to be a part of a live hacking event with them? The first one, actually, they've ever done.
To be fair, I used to hack PayPal like years ago. Like it was like 6 or 7 years ago when they wasn't on HackerOne yet. They had like own platform, somehow connected with eBay, I think. So yeah, old times. But yeah, it's like it's nice that they are really responsive and helpful with any problems. With the target is like amazing and hard, to be fair. Yeah, like as I said, I don't have any critical wounds. I know that some of guys popped some criticals already. So yeah, I'm really curious what's going on there, like just to watch what people find out.
Yeah, how about you, Robert? How's it going with hacking on PayPal? Are you enjoying it, and how does it feel like to be a part of PayPal's first live hacking event?
Well, it's really hard because I never hacked on PayPal before, so I just took this opportunity to learn about their surface and see what I can do here. But it's interesting because, well, I spent 2 weeks on targets just if I find something from the first 2 or 3 days when I'm doing a new program. So here I didn't find anything for the first 5 or 6 days, but after that I started finding interesting stuff, and I'm still exploring that, and I'm finding a lot of new interesting stuff right now. It's really cool, and it's a nice opportunity to learn a different approach.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. You guys kind of already answered this, but how's it going with hacking? Are you guys finding any vulns? Are you still have a few leads? How's it going?
I have some leads.
Yeah.
Well, like pretty small one. Reported few, like I think 3 bugs. All seems to be informative or low. So not much yet. As I said, there are still a few days. Maybe something will happen amazing.
You still have time, man. You still have a lot of
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Robert? Same thing?
I found, I think I found two vulnerabilities. They didn't say they're informative or not, but I think I'm good. But I have a few more leads. I mean, it's really nice because I'm starting to find some juicy stuff, and it's really just well, there's a lot of new stuff coming from that part. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know you guys mentioned, I think, Jacob, you mentioned this, that you've seen some hackers talking about some of their, that found some critical bugs. And for people that are watching this, we do have something called the show and tell. So at the end of the event, the last night, we have a show and tell where the top vulnerabilities, the most interesting vulns that we can actually talk about are presented at the end of the night just to the audience that's attending. So it's only for the hackers that are at the event. You get to watch and learn about the vulnerabilities, and that's one of the favorite things that I have. Also, it's one of our favorite parts. I think me and everybody on my team, on the community team, enjoys watching is hearing the crazy stories of how hackers have found these vulns, how they collaborated, how they exploited, and then and more than likely how much time Inti has spent reading the documentation. So we'll see where that goes. I'm gonna
I'm
switch.
looking forward to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward because this could be like most amazing part, and we can learn a lot from others, and their approach. So yeah.
Yeah, and I want to switch to asking Adam a few questions about the CTF, but before we switch, I kind of want to ask you guys, what roles have CTF in general played in your life when it comes down to bug bounties and hacking? Was CTF, even this CTF, was it a thing where you learned from? Like, did you learn anything doing this one CTF or HackerOne at all? Was there one thing that you learned that you never thought you needed or were always curious to learn?
This one goes for.
So let's start with this CTF. For this CTF in particular, was there one thing that you didn't know about that you had to learn in order to?
From the technical part, I think no, but I think I learned that I still need to focus more on organization of my work during bug bounties. So work on getting better organized, maybe doing some mind maps, which I'm not doing at all now. Maybe I should. Maybe this is the way to get more success. And also that reminds me that like the report part is like as important as the vulnerability itself. To write it down correctly. And this is something that companies looks for also, not only for vulns itself, but also for nice and clever and clear reports from hackers.
What about you, Robert? Do you have anything similar, or did you learn anything new that you weren't expecting in the CTF?
So from this CTF, I think I learned the Android part because it's the first time I'm doing any Android work. I mean, I knew how to then compile them, but I never dived into them and learned what's going on there. It's really cool. And you asked what role CTFs have played in our lives, well, for me, they really got me started because I was not onto security before. I knew a bit about it, and I was really curious how does it work. But I started with CTFs, and after that, I started doing bug bounties and get into it.
And what about you, Jacob? I didn't get to ask you this. How has CTFs help you with hacking and bug bounty? Has it played a major role for you, or how's that look?
I mean, like before, I didn't play like in really regular style. We had like years ago a small CTF team with friends, and it was like more to fun and learn. But to be fair, like I think bug bounties learned me lots more than CTFs for my regular job stuff. So I learned much more from bug bounties itself than from CTFs. but also there were some like kind of small stuff that I've learned like years ago for doing CTFs.
Oh, very cool. So I'm going to switch to Adam. I want to kind of hear about your background a little bit because we talked about the CTF a little bit. Um, Tell me a little bit about how did you get started in CTF, and also, guys, when we're I want to also hear if any of this is relatable to you too as well. But when did you start getting into creating CTFs?
I started CTF, so you started a website, ctfchallenge.co.uk, about probably just over a year ago now. So I've always been really interested in security since probably like 1998. I started getting into it, learned a lot, and then started getting into web development a bit more. And kind of my path has always kind of meandered between web development and security, but always been really passionate about the security side. And a couple of years ago, I gave up a fairly decent job to pursue that like career in security, and still trying to kind of like feel my way. And then like looking at a few challenges online, I just didn't find anything realistic enough with real security issues that were happening in the real world. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to build something, tweet it out there, see if anyone enjoys it. And it had a really good reception. I got some really good feedback for it, and I just kept on building more. And yeah, they keep on getting decent feedback, so I keep on building more of them.
And do you know how many you have created so far, just by CTF challenge and with the work that you have done with us?
I've probably got about, I think about 9 of them, but they're all kind of, none of them are kind of very small, kind of like one page, one solve type things. They're all set up like every CTF that I build is like as if it's its own company. It'll have separate subdomains to it. There'll be a lot to explore in there, and you kind of expected it might take you kind of, I suppose, anything between like 2 to 3 hours, maybe to a couple of days. So that they're not like short things to do. But I've certainly got a lot in the pipeline as well ready to come out.
Yeah, and you said their CTFs are on ctfchallenge.co.uk.
Yeah, ctfchallenge.co.uk. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. You mentioned something about all the CTFs have their own organization, their own subdomains. So we call those at HackerOne our HackerOne missions. It's no longer we refer to them as a CTF because we want hackers to understand it is a CTF. It's still capture the flag, but we call these missions, and we transition from doing a hey, here's a page, go hack it, versus here's an entire subdomain, a root subdomain that has other subdomains behind it, and go and hack it. And I also want to hear from the Robert and Jacob as well. Which one is more fun? Is it more fun that you have to do recon to find the subdomains and do directory brute forcing and that sort of a thing, versus just a single application with one box that you have to pop that's super super hard? Which one is more fun? I'm curious to hear it as well.
I think the full thing, with all own recon and a few subdomains which you don't know and you need to find yourself. Yeah, that's the more realistic and more fun for sure. But also the single boxes and single challenges are cool too, like just to make something fast, just solve something quickly and move forward with anything other you are doing right now. Yeah. So both are cool. I think more fun is the full ones.
Yeah. What about you, Robert? What did you think comparing a single application versus something that relied on multiple subdomains? Is that more fun? Is that distracting? Is there more rabbit holes maybe where you don't know if you're looking at the right thing versus the wrong thing?
Well, I think it's more interesting with the ones with recon and stuff, because the first thing is that you don't see them often. They're very rare. I mean, I think Adam is the only one that's doing, and you guys at HackerOne are the only one that are doing CTF that big, because yeah, it's very hard to do them, and you need experience in the bug bounty community, kind of. Uh, I really enjoyed them. And the other part, they are fun, but I don't know. I mean, they're usually just bypassing some stuff or finding interesting stuff behind something. But you don't get to chain interesting things. And usually I found that is more, I don't know, I'm wasting too much time sometimes just trying to pop some things off, like on a box in real life. I mean, trying to find a vulnerability just in that box, and then after a few days, when I give up, I just find an XSS with no content security policy or everything, with no subdomain, and well, I found it really easy with no filter and no everything. So I kind of like the chaining stuff and the recon.
And Adam, I want to hear from you. Like, you and I have talked about this a few times. Full disclosure, I'm a big fan of CTF Challenge, and I think you know that. And partially because of the fact that it requires me more than just staring at a single application. I think most people know I don't play a lot of CTFs because most of the time they're unrealistic and not fun. Like, it made it fun when I have to connect the dots. I see this thing on this subdomain. Let me see if I can connect it to this other thing that I haven't seen or I just saw online. I'm curious, why did you pick to do those, like spinning up a new, because the thing that you have done is you call them its own company. For this h1-2006, we called it the CTF Pay because we wanted Bounty Pay. Sorry, we called it the Bounty Pay. It was its own organization within our CTF domain. Curious, what made that light bulb switch go off in your head when you were like, no one's doing this. We should be doing these more often than what traditional CTFs are about?
Again, and I think it fits perfectly into the bug bounty community, is that they're perfect for that type of community because, again, I've said it a million times about how realistic it is. You're going to be approaching these style CTFs the exact same way you're going to approach a company on a bug bounty platform. I mean, the smaller challenges do have like a time and place, especially for like Jeopardy style CTFs. That was one lesson that I'd actually learned in the past couple of weeks, that people like kind of those quick low value points for Jeopardy style CTFs where they can do it quickly. And it maybe if you've only got 24 hours to get as many points as you can, a bigger kind of more epic challenge is going to get ignored when somebody can complete a few smaller ones. So they've definitely got a place for them. But yeah, it's all about how realistic it is, and that's what I wanted to give people, a real experience and give them the opportunity to learn the skills that they need.
Very cool. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there is more things you can do. Good, evil, and great. You can do some evil stuff of making some rabbit holes where people go down these evil rabbit holes that has nothing in them, other than maybe a meme or a Rickroll YouTube video. But yeah, I agree. There's more fun you can have when you connect more applications that talk to each other, and you can do more things like I know one of your challenges that you have on your website has a ticket trick, for example, that you don't really see, right? Like unless you know how to do ticket tricking, you can't really do it. But there it is, a CTF where you do a ticket tricking and you get into a Slack instance, for example, which is really, really well done. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add? I think we are almost out of time here. I kind of went through all the questions I had. Anything, Jacob, Robert, you guys would like to add as hackers? Any advice, word of wisdom, any feedback?
I believe we covered a lot of stuff during this talk. So maybe the last word I would like to tell is thank you for all of you guys for doing this. Like, it was quite fun, and it's still going on with the live hacking events. So yeah, I really appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you. What about you, Robert? Anything you want to add? Any feedback, comments, advice?
Yeah, so I would really like to thank you guys for this opportunity, and I would like to thank Adam and Benok, I think, for the Android application. It was really great, and well, it's a great opportunity to be on this live hacking event, even if it's not like live. But it's really nice to meet a lot of people here.
Yeah, and we're very happy that you guys also had a good time and got to join us and enjoy the CTF. It's hard to create CTFs that are both fun and engaging, um, and also people like enjoy doing them. Right? It's a hard balance. So we appreciate both of you guys for doing it, and thank you so much, Adam, for being a part of this CTF. And I'm gonna switch up to you and see if you have anything you want to add or anything you want to say to the hackers that we have them on right now.
Just that it was an absolutely awesome experience and opportunity to do that. I've managed to, well, I've certainly learnt a lot from it as well, especially going from kind of my own challenges that might only have about kind of 30, 40 people hitting them at the same time to like potentially hundreds. So I've learned some interesting lessons going forward. And it's just been really great to connect with the community, like kind of during and after as well, and getting to speak to people from, I think I've nearly spoken to people from every continent of the world. It's just been like great opportunity, great feedback from people. It's been really fun.
Very cool. I want to end this on on a high note. Let's start with you, Jacob. Any advice you can give to the new hackers or hackers who want to solve a Hacker 101 or Hacker 1 CTF? Anything that you could tell them that may help them in the future?
Whoa, I didn't expect that.
It doesn't have to be a resource. It's just anything that you could tell, like as an advice, like go learn this or go play CTF. Something that you could tell them that may help them to get started.
That may be advice I'm giving to everyone that are interested in security at all. Like go and try bug bounties, yeah, because I think that's the one of best ways to learn stuff or ask yourself questions what you need to learn more about something. Yeah, so I think the bug bounties are the answer for learning and for future solving some CTFs, I think.
Yeah.
And reading write-ups after not solving some challenges, which I, for example, failed a lot of stuff. Yeah, after all, reading the write-up of it and saying to myself, "Okay, that was so fucking easy." So yeah, reading the write-ups is also kind of important in my opinion.
Robert, anything you would like to add?
So I can tell you what I did to get started, and I think it's a great advice for anyone that wants to get started. So first thing I did a Hacker 101 CTF and did the challenges there because they're kind of real life and you learn something about them. But the really good part of it is you get private invites. I got some private invites and I started hacking on those targets. It was, well, really hard, but I public programs are kind of really intimidating because their scope is really big, and when you're just starting out, you don't know how to approach it. So the private programs I got were just one application, and I started drilling them and seeing what was there, and also I started reading everything from the activity, listening to almost every interview that's out there, like the one from Peter, the old ones. And yeah, that was my approach, and it's starting to work out, I would say.
And Adam, someone that's behind a lot of CTFs and more than likely will be a big partner in our, with us with our CTFs. Do you have any advice when it comes down to doing better with CTFs?
Never underestimate recon. Just make sure you scan everything for content, your enumeration, just nail that, and just really get a good methodology together. Make sure you're ticking off. So like, don't skip things. Just like make sure you're checking every directory for new content, every subdomain. Make sure you're checking subdomains of subdomains and like HTTP methods. Don't just assume everything's going to be a GET request. Just there's a lot to learn, and it can definitely be daunting, but just get out there, be part of the community as well, get online, and there's so much good content coming out from people. You can learn so much online. It's brilliant.
Very cool. Well, hey, I want to say thank you all so much for being here, and congratulations again from winning, Jacob and Robert. Thank you again for participating, and it's very, very awesome to actually meet you guys over chat, and hopefully once all this craziness with COVID-19 is gone, we could do an event in person. And I've never met any of you guys, actually. Adam and I have talked very regularly and never met either, and hopefully at some point in the future we can all get to hang out and grab some drinks, coffee, and food, and talk about hacking a little bit more.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Thank you again, guys. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We're going to go live again tomorrow at 9 a.m. With some of our hackeronis and some of our hackers to talk about the live hacking event. So if you want to watch, we'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you guys again, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the live hacking event.
Thank you. Cheers.
See you guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.